Australia is considering sending its aircraft carrier to the Philippines for trilateral naval exercises next week in the South China Sea, sources familiar with the matter said Friday. The drills, which are planned to take place next Wednesday, come amid rising tensions between Beijing and Manila after a Chinese Coast Guard ship earlier this month fired a water cannon at a Philippine military-chartered vessel near Manila-controlled 2nd Thomas Shoal in the South China Sea. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force has decided to send its largest destroyer, Izumo, which will become a de facto aircraft carrier after undergoing additional renovations scheduled to begin next year or 2025, according to the sources. The Australian Navy will deploy the Canberra amphibious assault ship, while the U.S. Navy is expected to send an American amphibious assault ship, the sources said. The joint exercise is planned to include aircraft takeoff and landing exercises using the decks of 3 ships from the 3 countries. The exercise was carried out to demonstrate the commitment of the United States and its allies to upholding freedom of navigation, according to the source. Izumo plans to dock next Friday in Manila, the source said. Participation in the joint drills because the other 3 countries' aircraft were too large to land on the deck of a Philippine warship, according to the source. However, commanders from the 4 countries could gather in the Philippine capital to send a strong message, the source said. The 4 countries had considered conducting joint maritime patrols and naval exercises, but the plans failed to reach an agreement, according to the sources. Facing military pressure and Beijing's increasing activity in the South China Sea, Manila has so far focused on increasing security cooperation with Tokyo, Washington, and Canberra. Japan, the United States, Australia, and the Philippines previously held their first defense ministers meeting in June in Singapore. The 4 parties agreed to strengthen security cooperation to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific. China, which claims almost all of the South China Sea, has built artificial islands with military infrastructure. Tensions between Beijing and Manila escalated when China's Coast Guard in February aimed military lasers at a Philippine patrol boat in waters near 2nd Thomas Shoal. Spokesman for the Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, Lieutenant Colonel Enrico Iledo said the war games took place. The entire series of exercises were centered on the deck of HMAS Canberra, an Australian warship. The aim is to increase mutual support of operations and the ability to share tactics, techniques, procedures and experience in amphibious operations, Iledo said in a statement issued by AFP. The exercise began on the deck of HMAS Canberra docked in Darwin, Australia. From Darwin, the ship headed north towards waters west of Palawan, Philippines. The training location was the scene of an incident where a Philippine Coast Guard ship was sprayed by a Chinese Coast Guard ship. When the incident occurred, the Philippine ship was escorting a boat carrying supplies to a reef disputed by Beijing Manila. China named the coral Rene, while the Philippines calls it Ayungin. Almost every month there are incidents between Chinese and Filipino ships in these waters. Australia's involvement in Alan is part of the implementation of the Indo-Pacific Endeavour, IPE, 2023. IPE is a defense diplomacy program for the Australian Armed Forces, ADF, that has been ongoing for several years. Exercise Alan is one of IPE's important activities and gives the ADF the opportunity to work together with partners, said IPE 2023 Commander First Marshal Tony McCormick, as revealed in an ADF statement. In Alan, the joint forces of the 3 countries will be involved in air, land and sea operations. There will be landing operation scenarios in Palawan and Zambales. Australia, among others, sent MV-22B Osprey aircraft for landing in Palawan. Meanwhile in Zambales they will focus on practicing landing from the sea. Training participants will also fire cannons and rockets at targets around the training location. Australia deployed its largest warship, HMAS Canberra, in Exercise Alan, which was held for the first time as part of Australia's Indo-Pacific Endeavour. This exercise starts from 14 to the 31st of August. Yes, more than 2,000 Australian and Filipino air, sea and land troops took part, along with about 150 U.S. Marines. On Monday, a simulated air attack was carried out on the southern island of Palawan, Philippines, about 200 kilometers from the Spratly Islands disputed between Manila and Beijing. Like the Philippines, Australia wants a peaceful, stable and prosperous region that respects sovereignty and is guided by a rules-based order, said Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, Hei Kyong-yu, as published by Channel News Asia. The United States, Japan and Australia will also hold joint naval exercises off the coast of the Philippines this week. The drills came after a Philippine supply mission to Second Thomas Shoal in the Spratlys was blocked by a Chinese Coast Guard ship using water cannon, sparking a diplomatic spat and international outrage. The Philippines, which has recently come under pressure from China over parts of the South China Sea, will be defended by Australia and the United States by increasing its patrols. China's claim to the entire South China Sea waters has caused turmoil for countries that have territory in the region. In fact, recently China has continued to terrorize the Philippines with its patrol boats, and has sprayed water on Philippine patrol boats several times. Australian and Philippine troops, supported by United States Marines, practiced last Friday to retake an island captured by enemy forces in a large-scale military exercise on the Philippines' northwest coast facing the disputed South China Sea.